And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the InnerStrength Empowerment Hour. I am Lori DePietro Standen, and I am here with our Plant Power coaches, LT and Joanne. So I'm so glad that you joined us today. This is a really important topic, and I feel like I say that every week because they're all really important. But as we come up on the beginning of the year, everybody is starting to think about New Year's resolutions. And I know that you are getting completely inundated with all kinds of crazy diet schemes. What is it? There's some kind of coffee, some kind
The
of
coffee drink.
energy. Yeah, there are, tons of supplements and shake plans out there, tons of those. And, the Weight Watchers, of course, I'm sure they're doing a big campaign. The frozen meals like Jenny Craig
Yes.
and all of that stuff, or I'm sure those people are knocking your door down. So these are, this is the time when everybody's trying to get you to make a decision. And notoriously, all of us this time of year go into the new year making not great decisions. And we end up falling off the wagon, proverbially, within a few months. And I not only did this, but then when I became a personal trainer, I saw it firsthand. There would be people who were at the gym practically every day in January. And then they'd be like, fall off a little bit in February, but they're still on it. And then by March, the end of March, it's like you never saw them again. And so that's how gyms make a lot of money, by the way, is you sign up and you don't go. So we've all been there. And then, of course, you can't quit the gym. If you've ever seen Friends, Chandler tried to quit the gym. Then they're like, what are you doing? You signed up, you should start coming. And then you're like, yeah, I really should. And then you just end up with this gym membership that you never use. So I hope that you will find this really helpful today, because I want to talk about how we can avoid falling into that trap again this year, but also what is the why behind why we do this? Why do we always get ourselves into this situation, and how can you make choices that are going to have a bigger impact on your life? So I hope that this will be interactive. So say hi if you're here, because I haven't seen any comments yet. So say hi if you're here, so I know that I can see you and see what you have to say. And I would love to make this interactive. So the first thing that I wanted to do was just ask the two of you, what kinds of weight loss and health resolutions have you made in the past? What are those things? What have they looked like?
Go ahead, LT, because I know you've got a list.
She's going to bring out her list. Like, okay.
Yeah. I got this list. It's in text format. I can send it to you.
Okay.
But yes, every January 1st, I was starting a new program. Because we all know that LT has been on 26. So I started a program every time. I always made a commitment to do something in the gym, and I was going to come every day, and I was going to drink water, and I was going to stop drinking Diet Coke. And it always happened just like everybody said, for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, and then I would fall off. My threshold seemed to have been 6 months. When you said a few months, normally I lasted something with 6 months, and then I was out of there and I was on to the next, because it wasn't quite good enough. And I know that I made this connection not too long ago, and I've been meaning to tell y'all about this, but you know how people have this seasonal depression right now around the holiday, or they associate it. Mine was not with the holidays. Mine was with my birthday. Every year, did not look forward to my birthday. And my birthday is in May. And that's about the time that old LT was dropping out of something. Okay. And so it kind of makes sense now that I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, mine was always because I would indulge so much over the holidays, because I really looked forward to all the Christmas candy and all the Christmas goodies. By the time the holidays got done, I was feeling really, really at a low point. So it wasn't just something I was going into it thinking, oh, well, when the new year gets here, I'm really going to make a change. It was I always had hit that lowest point right after Christmas because I had indulged so much that it was like, you have to do this. And the other part of it was, in my adult life was we would always go to Florida in March over spring break. And so after I had gone off the rails in December, I thought, okay, I have 3 months. I have 3 months to lose 40 pounds or 50 pounds. And so I was very like, I'm doing this, every single time. And there was a deadline about it. So that's what always tripped me up, was that deadline.
So how did you plan when you, both of you guys, when you were, so how did you decide what you were going to do? And what was did you have a plan to make it happen? And if so, what was the plan? Like when you're looking at, you're staring down the barrel of the New Year's, like, okay, I've got to do something. Because that's what we always say. I've got to get this weight off. That's what you always say. What is the plan? How do you come up with it?
How did I come up with which program I was going to do at that particular time? It was just whatever was speaking the loudest to me. I was never doing something on my own. I was always affiliated with some other group. And I always thought that group was going to be the biggest and the one that was a little bit better. And because that one, they gave you the shots. Oh, and if that one, they don't give you the shots, that one, you get the extra supplements. And then, you have to go in more times with that one. And maybe that'd be better because I'll be seeing people a little bit more. So it was always through the advertisement or through a Facebook or through a word of mouth. But it was, the next one was going to be, I should have done that one before I did that one. Yeah. And then you get to the end of 26 and you think all of this is crap. Every single one of them did not work.
Did you have any other plan did you think any further than this plan's going to be great, this is the one I'm doing? Did you think ahead of that, or was that where your thinking kind of stopped?
No, my thinking stopped with that because I was consumed and that's all I could see was get this weight off, and I don't care what it get. I wasn't thinking about next year or how I feel. I wasn't doing any mindset work. I was thinking if that number on the scale doesn't go down and if I can't fit in these pants, I'm going to have to go buy a whole new thing of pants, which is why I have in my closet, I could have been a department store with the little plastic, and I could have been the different shop in my closet with the different sizes because I was constantly buying up and buying up and buying up. Yeah. I mean, it every time. And I was in a constant state during all of these years. I'm not saying that I was up the whole time because I did go down with some of these programs. I was either going up or going down. I never was where I wanted to be or never where at my satisfied point. But I will say that every time I went up, it was further than the previous time.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we do is we gain more and more weight over the years. So you the weight, then you gain it back plus more, then you lose the weight, gain it back plus more
every time. And that was across the board.
I even saw that with my dad. My dad was a huge keto person, and he would do keto and get a tremendous amount of weight back, and then he would gain it back plus more, and over the years it has completely destroyed his health. Tammy says yes, exactly, LT. Marcy says, I've never maintained, always up after. Yeah.
Right.
So what about you, Joanne? Any plan?
I didn't ever have a plan because I never was one to like join a gym, or I think I joined a gym once, like in college when it was free. But I think the only program I actually joined was Weight Watchers. But even that wasn't a New Year's thing. It was more like, when every New Year's would roll around, I would go into more of the attacking myself mode. That was my plan. Like, just get your act together. Finally, that was my plan, was to stop doing all the bad things I was doing. And that's what I really thought was going to work. Just don't go, eating candy, don't go binging, I just really was focusing on my own behaviors. But in a very negative way, like just stop everything you do and stop acting the way you act, and then you'll get it right.
And so LT said she would last, maybe 5 months or so. What about you? How far did you get with that?
About 3 weeks. I didn't even last a month. I mean, I would,
Yeah.
I was, well, because I think, you know, you just feel, you're doing it from a point of feeling bad about yourself. So then you just make yourself feel worse when that first failure comes up and you're like, well, there's still leftover cookies here from Christmas. Might as well, because I already messed up.
Yeah. So your thing was, I feel like you and LT are saying the exact opposite thing, which is LT was like, this time, this program is going to be the support I need, where you were always saying, I don't need any support. I can do this myself.
Yeah, that's me. I don't need any support. I'm doing this all by myself. So just leave me to be.
No, I've always liked accountability, and I've always done better when somebody's been checking on me, and it made me mad because I didn't like that, but I knew that that's what I needed. But as we have talked about, and as I've evolved in this program, I am accountable to myself now. And let me tell you, I love being accountable to myself because I love exercise. I love what I'm eating. And before, it was a drudge that I had to meet somebody to do this and do this. I'm doing this because it's my own volition. I want to do it. Right.
Somebody in our group last night, for those of you who are watching, this is like, some stuff, I mean, this is like a mission for me. So when people make certain comments, it really gets me, and it's so exciting for me. But she posted a picture of herself running, and she's doing indoor running right now because of her weather. And she said, I don't know if I've lost my mind or I'm just blissfully happy. And she had a picture of her face. And her face looks different every time she posts because
Every time.
she's losing weight. And I was just like, yes, this is
She's
it.
Doing it.
This is
She's
it.
got it.
She
got it in
does.
spades, and she's fun to watch.
Yeah. And that's, it's you know, when I was in personal training, I remember somebody said to me, because I was so excited about just health, because I had been unhealthy for so long. And then my next thing, I became a Zumba instructor first, and then I went into personal training. But somebody said, oh, I see you've got the bug, which was just me being excited about my life, like being excited about being healthy. And so seeing her post that was, and we get a lot of posts like that. That one in particular, I just felt so great about. So and Jasmine says, I need help, ladies, I'm overeating. So it's good that you recognize that you need help, because you know, like Joanne says, like you can either you can be like, well, I'm going to do it on my own, and that can go on for many years, or you can also pick some of these, you know, these plans that are not designed for long term. So that leads me to my next question. You know, what were the results of this? So you talked about how you would lose the weight. Like, what is that the totality of it? Like, what you would lose the weight and
no,
like,
I would lose the weight through blood, sweat, and tears. And I did not have that element of contentedness that I've used that word before. I may have been a little bit happier with the way things were, but I still was not feeling great. And I've had a lot of time and thought to analyze this with my success with your program. And this is why. I still had a foot in addiction to these other programs, and I was depriving myself, and I was sneaking, and I was making my days, like some days have a lot, and the next days not have many, just so I could level it out. And so I never broke hold of that addiction. And with your program, I did break hold, and I've broken hold, and it has made every difference in the world, A to Z, top to bottom. My whole personality, my whole demeanor, my whole makeup, everything about me is better and different. Everything.
So
everything.
I think what we're talking about, so what we're talking about is the difference between focusing on, you know, the symptom, which is the weight.
Right.
You know, that's why for those of you who watched the welcome video on the 6 super truths, the first one is weight is a symptom. So we're focusing on the symptom. That's what we do first. I got to get this weight off. You have this laundry list of problems where you are not practicing balance in your life. You aren't having good boundaries. You aren't, prioritizing things the way you should. Maybe you don't have good relationships. So you have all of these things going on. And sort of at the tail end of that is weight gain, weight gain, weight gain, weight gain, because it's a coping mechanism. In addition to the fact that, we have a horrible food system here in the United States. And so that's making things worse. So, but instead of starting up here, like, okay, I need to address some of these reasons why I'm having problems, you just address the symptom. And that you're never going to get anywhere that way, not long-term. We can definitely make short-term progress when we do that. And we often do, but that's why you end up gaining the weight back.
Exactly. And at the end of every program, when I had given up and thrown in the towel, I don't even know what to call it other than a honeymoon phase of a food frenzy, because it was like, I'm not underneath you anymore. And I'm not underneath your system and your program and your clipboard. And I'm talking about I was eating everything and I was buying all the junk, and it was just kind of like a free for all. So I was already up, and then I just topped it even more, which made me feel horrible for when I started the next program, because here I was up again, and I did it every single time. So see, my foot was never out of the addiction cycle.
Right.
I was never out.
What about you, Joanne?
Well, and I never got that little feeling of, ooh, I lost a little bit. I never lost anything. I mean, the one time that I did join Weight Watchers, I lost 20 pounds, but then I gained back 50. So I never got that like momentum to even feel a little bit good. I just would always just kept feeling worse. And I think the worse you feel about yourself, it makes it completely impossible. And for me, like, I never recognized that all of those other problems were the cause. But especially when you are overweight and feeling sick, you can't even address those problems because you don't have the confidence to make a boundary. You don't have the ability to speak up for yourself or to even dive into that, because you're just so exhausted. You're so done with, just making it in the forefront of your mind all the time. You can't go there. You can't even think about that stuff. So I just kept gaining I just kept gaining. I never got that little, yay, I lost a few.
Yeah. So Susie says, I always felt like I had to eat salad to lose weight. And after a while that gets old and I would start back to eating everything. Yeah. Stephanie says, I do feel like I'm changing my relationship with food, but I'm not losing weight. What do I do? So to address those, I would say with Susie, we feel like it's a deprivation game. Like you're either deprived and losing weight, or like, LT said, you're off the rails. You're like, I'm eating everything. Yeah. Because it becomes this sort of what I can and can't do instead of a choice. If any of you guys saw my post that I made on that the other day, you really do have to make that decision that you realize that this is just a choice. It's not, there's no can and can't. You can eat anything you want.
Right.
Right. No one is going to stop you. No one stopped me. Hey, whatever I wanted. And I also would eat in secret. And I mean, so you can do whatever you want. The question is, are you acting in accordance with your goals? And so when you're not, you can't just look at what is happening with the goal. You have to look at why you're not acting in accordance with your goals. And when you don't do that, then that's when the yo-yo just keeps going. With Stephanie, I would say changing your relationship with food is huge. And sometimes this is a journey. And so that's, when you've had a bad relationship with food your whole life, which I definitely did. And it's still, I want to say this too. So, you guys know that I'm married to a chef. And I think there's a lot of, people don't realize what that's like. First of all, because he's so busy most of the time, he's not cooking for me. So when people are like, oh, it must be nice to have a personal chef, I'm like, I don't have a personal chef. He's cooking at work. He doesn't want to come home and cook. So we do cook together sometimes. But the flip side of that is that he does, everything that he makes is really, really rich. Even the plant-based stuff is. And he, because of his upbringing, his thing at the holidays is just to make an overwhelming amount of sweets. He has already made 5 different kinds of cookies, a Coogan, and a fruitcake. And we're not even to the holiday yet. And this stuff is in the house. It's in the freezer. It's all this stuff. So, you know, having had a past where I started off with an eating disorder when I was in high school and early college. And even though I was bulimic, but even though I stopped purging, I never really stopped binging. And so my relationship with food was bad for a very long time. I mean, so I was still doing that when I was in my mid 30s. I was still just binging all the time. And obviously you don't have to have a purging disorder to have a binging disorder. A lot of us have binged a lot. And so it's overwhelming still for me, for him to have that amount of food coming into the house, you know? And so I've had to talk to him on more than one occasion about this. Like, I get that food is your love language. I get that this is, you know, something that you do, but you have to understand that it's overwhelming to just have this constant onslaught of unhealthy food coming into the house. So I have to set boundaries for him and me as far as where that food goes and what happens to it. So I get it. It's, you know, it's still to this day, I am very aware of what my past issues have been, and I'm very protective of myself. So changing your relationship with food is an ongoing thing, but you can get healthy in the process and you can lose weight in that process. And so it's a matter of doing the mindset work to get you to the point where you're not just changing your relationship with food, but you're actually changing the way that you eat. Angel says, 4 years ago, I had lost 30 pounds. I was going to the gym 5 days a week, eating healthy and feeling good. But then I went through a breakup and started coping by eating and drinking alcohol. This program has been a lifesaver. I now cope without eating and drinking. I take my butt to the gym or go for a walk to deal with stress. I've set boundaries and walked away from unhealthy friendships. Thank you so much for this program. So yeah, Angel is in the Plant Power Revolution, and that's what it's about. It is about changing the way that you think and the way that you cope, instead of just dealing with the tail end of it, which is the fact that, I mean, for me, I'm speaking like we speak to ourselves, which is like, oh my God, I'm so fat. I have got to get this weight off. And we start that, like Joanne said, that negative talk, like, you suck. How can you let yourself get like this? And why don't you have any control? And so we're like, we're going to whip ourselves into shape. And like Susie said, like, it's all salads from here on out. And it's just not going to work. And it's also not going to work with it's all shakes and supplements from here on out. It's all 0 carbs from here on out. It's all, I'm going to be in the gym 24/7 from here on out. We're all smarter than this, ladies. We are all smarter than this. But we fall for it because we're desperate. So what I think we don't talk enough about this part. So when you could feel yourself losing steam, whether it was at 5 months or 3 weeks, what did that feel like? What were your actual thoughts? Because you know there's that moment. It always starts with a moment where you're like, I'm just gonna have that, and then I'm gonna, you know, like you start. What did that look like for you?
That looked like to me about going to a fast food restaurant, and I would be going to get my little Wendy's #1 with my little Frosty. And a cookie if I could get the cookie, and I would get my cheese and my mayonnaise on my hamburger, and I would come home and I would start rifling through and finding something else, and then I would start telling myself, you knew you weren't going to do it anyway. You're always going to be like this. You never can get it together. You're always going to be big. Nothing you ever do is going to work. I don't know why you continue to sign up for stuff and to pay money for stuff. And then I'm just going to get lethargic, and then I'm going to be more sedentary, And then when somebody tries to engage with me, I'm going to be real irritable, and I'm going to be real snappy, and I'm going to be in victim mode, and I'm going to try to blame somebody else for stuff that I did to myself.
Yeah.
And you just described LT for 30 years.
Yeah, I know you said that that was a cycle that you were in for a really long time.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
What about you, Joanne? So after the first few weeks, what happened?
So I think after the first, not getting any of that gratification of seeing any progress, I would start to sneak in little things. And, my big thing was like candy and pop. So I'd sneak in a couple of things. And back before COVID, we were big movie goers, and we'd go to the movie all the time. And it was, during that time I would be like, no popcorn, no pop, no candy. But then I would like, okay, maybe I'll get a soda. Maybe I'll get a large soda. And the movie theater sodas are like 7 gallons.
And they're $15.
That gave me then I was getting the gratification from that, the sugar rush, the feeling like, oh, this is great. This is amazing. I feel good. I'm living my life how I want to do it. Whatever I was trying to do, that doesn't matter because this feels good. So I think I was getting that rush from food that made me feel better than, trying to do something better for myself and my health. So I just clung on to that.
And also, I think what you've talked about before is that your family was also committed to those behaviors. So there's also something about being in the tribe and everybody's doing the same thing and eating the same thing that makes you feel like this is what I should be doing, even though it's not. There's something.
And even though I felt crappy, after I would do it, I've got a lot of food sensitivities too. So putting those things in my body was actually damaging my health. It wasn't just about weight. I was sick. And so even though I felt horrible, I don't know, that feeling of, being part of something, having fun, doing the thing that the whole group is doing, instant gratification, that spoke to me a lot louder than commitment to making myself healthy.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I was mad because I was doing things, not only depriving myself, but killing myself exercise-wise and staying in a state of soreness to the point where I'm telling you, it hurt to wash my hair. It hurt to walk upstairs. And I was getting madder by the minute because I thought, I'm spinning my wheels and I'm doing all of this. I'm nothing to show for it. I'm mad and I'm sore. Yeah. And I lived like that from program to program because exercise was always a big part of my programs. And because not only was I in a program, but I was doing something at the gym where I was doing a boot camp or a personal training or something. And so I just lived sore and I wasn't seeing just minimal results. And I felt like my effort did not match.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I also want to point out too, and you guys are getting a lot of amens from the group. So there's a lot of agreement. I want to point out too that what as a personal trainer, and then also what I've seen as I've been running my own program for over 10 years is that you're not getting the right nutritional information from your gym. That's just the bottom line. So I'm just telling you that right now. The chances of you getting the right information from your gym, from what I've seen, are about 10%. About 1 out of every 10 people is getting the right information. Number one, your personal trainer, unless they're certified in nutrition, they're not allowed to give you that information. So there's a lot of people giving information out there that's wrong, and they're not even allowed to be giving it. And the stuff that I'm hearing that just is, a gram of protein for every pound of body weight, that is just, it's unhealthy and it's insane and it's impossible. Think about that. If you're weighing 200 pounds, like a lot of people in my program come in around that weight. Like if I were to tell that, you would spend your whole day just trying to get your protein in, and that is horrible on your kidneys. I mean, there just is, there's so much misinformation out there. The amount of water that people are told to drink, you definitely need to hydrate. You want to do about a cup of water for every 20 pounds of body weight, but I'm seeing twice that much that people are coming in. And there is such a thing as water toxicity. You can totally throw off your electrolytes by drinking too much water. So the stuff that people are getting also from their gym is confusing them.
Yeah, I was so confused. I had been losing weight with a personal trainer before you, and then started gaining back, at the beginning of COVID. And I had gone to a seminar right before I met you on macros. I didn't even know what was up. He was having us do formulas. I'm like, I ain't gonna do. I knew the minute I was listening to this, I thought, I ain't doing this. I don't even know what you're saying.
Right.
I knew it was not feasible for me.
And people ask me that. They'll be like, how many macros do you? I'm like, I'm not doing macros. Or how many net carbs are in something? Or
yes,
not designed.
He had us get a calculator out, and I knew then
right.
I'm out.
Yeah, that's it's not that much work. That's the thing is so, and I knew that too, because I looked at all these different things and I thought, why didn't people have to do this 100 years ago? Like, right. Why aren't they doing that? You know what I mean? Like, what is it now that suddenly my health has become a math calculation?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So I knew that wasn't right, just because if other people can do it without doing that, then what I need to look at is a different problem than how can I calculate myself into submission. Susie says, the last gym I belonged to always had snacks every day. Pizza, donuts, bagels, and so on. No fresh fruit or anything like that. Yeah, Planet Fitness does, at least before COVID, they were doing pizza every Friday. And I was like, why? They big pepperoni pizzas in the lobby. And I thought to myself, like, I get that people feel like they need a treat, but, for the gym to be putting unhealthy food out there is like, it's ridiculous. So yeah, for me, I was always a deal maker. I would be like, okay, especially like on something like Weight Watchers, I would be like, I knew that I could, when I first started Weight Watchers, I'd be like, okay, I can't get a number one, but what I can do is get a cheeseburger with Big Mac sauce and a small fry, and I can fit that into my points for the day. Well, then as time went on, I would be like, okay, I'm going to get a number one, but I'm not going to eat for the rest of the day. Or I'm going to eat this dessert, but then I'm not going to, tomorrow is just straight vegetables, or I'm going to fast. Or I would always just make these deals with myself that I never kept any of these deals. But I always, that's how the thing would start, was I'm making a deal with myself. So, that bargaining, then like you said too, both of you guys are saying about how it just makes you feel awful about yourself, because you're like, I can't stick to anything. I can't make a commitment to myself. I can't make this work. I don't have any willpower. That was the thing that was always like, I don't have the willpower to do this. I'm weak.
Right. And then that translates not just about your weight journey anymore. Now you're saying it about your life and your personality and your abilities, about being a wife, a mother, a friend, a coworker. It translated into that.
Right.
Yeah.
You feel out of control in every area of your life, and weak in every area. And not to mention the fact that all of this, the sugar and the caffeine and the processed foods and the hormones from the dairy and the meat and all these things are making you feel like a crazy person anyway. Right. But then on top of that, you feel like a failure as a human being.
Worthless.
So, right. So what is the difference, if you had to pinpoint what the difference is between how you've approached your goals during previous, the resolutions, and what has actually changed your life in this program? So what do you think the difference is? Because I referred to this as a revolution. What do you think the difference is, or what does that look like in your life between making a resolution and actually having a revolution?
Yeah. The first thing, started feeling better within just the first week or two. That was the main thing, breaking free of addictions that I didn't you know they've got a hold on you. You know they do, but you don't know how prominently they have a hold on you. And when I started really figuring that out, and then you're going to come in with this support and this education that you do, you know, through coaches, through our group that we do, through the Zoom calls that we have. I was set up for success at every turn, and I felt that I was genuinely cared about. And I felt like somebody had already been there, done that, what I was talking about, and could understand where I was coming from. And I just felt a place to be honest, because so much of what my problem had been before was things were done in secret, and they were done in hiding, and they were done on the sly. And I was sneaky, and I was just not true. I lied to myself. I lied to other people. I lied by omission. And I will tell you this story. I think that I have told it on a Zoom call before, but Lori, I don't know that you've ever heard it. So just bear with me and let me tell you this little story. This is why I'm big into being authentic and being honest and being truthful and being transparent. Because when I started being transparent with you, things started happening for the better. Because I stopped what I was doing. I had lost 50 pounds before, 15 years ago, 13 years ago, with a trainer that came to my house 3 times a week. And she weighed me every week. And we wrote it in a little book. One week she didn't ask to weigh me, and I didn't remind her. And the next week came. She didn't ask, and I didn't remind her. And she thought I was doing great. And I let her believe it. I let her believe it by omission. And I had lost 50 pounds. But I knew that I was starting to gain a little bit of it back. But it wasn't enough to the point that I was sending a red flag everywhere.
Right.
And so she continued to think that I was losing. And I let her believe it because I didn't correct her. She thought I had lost 80. I had lost 50. We go to a seminar full of people. She uses me as an example and exaggerates and said I had lost 100 pounds with her. She only thought it was 80. Truth, 50. When I say I wanted to be under the table, I wanted to be under the table. And do you know that my relationship with her fell apart after that? And we don't have any communication, and I don't even really know much about her anymore because it's been so long ago. But I truly, in my heart of hearts, felt like that if I had been honest and transparent and open, that I would not have caused 15 more years of damage, but I did. And so that is why I love a scale picture. And I'm not saying that all of y'all are going to be like old LT over here and doing a bunch of bunk, but you can't lie with a scale picture. And that's why I like it, because I feel like I've done some tricks and I've done some omissions. And I feel like the more honest and transparent you are, the more genuine result you're going to get. And that's the beauty of our group. We're not going to judge you. We're here to help you, and we're going to lift you up, and we're going to figure it out. So don't be ashamed about saying something. Listen, I am humiliated telling you this story. It is awful. It does not speak well to my character, but I did do that. And I have moved on from that. And that is not how I play my life to this day. So you're going to get honest and upfront with LT, because that's the way I do business now.
Right. And I think, like as you guys know, in our coaching call last night, I shared a really personal story from my life of something that was going on. And someone messaged me after that and said, I really appreciate you being so honest about that. And here's what's going on with me.
Yes.
Because I think that one of the things that stops us from moving forward is we think that we're more screwed up than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I was convinced that for a very long time, that like I am weirder and more screwed up and weaker. And, you know, everything is so much worse than everybody else. But then when you start really getting honest, then you give other people the permission to be honest. And so when women really start getting honest with each other, then we can actually talk about the problems. And then we can actually resolve things instead of always putting this front up. Like, oh, it's okay. I got it. I'm good. You know, all of our smiling Facebook pictures and all the stuff that we do. Like when you get past that, then that's when you can really be real.
Yes. And that's when I made that decision when I started your program, that I was going to be that way. And I have held true to that. And I have had more success and a change from top to bottom than I ever have. And I'm not going back. I know too much to go back. It's not happening. This is too authentically who I am and who I've always wanted to be. And I'm just going to continue to get better.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do think it's so awesome that you share that, because we've all been there where you start to gain the weight back, but you don't want to admit it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And,
right.
it's like, because people will be like, oh, you get some attention for losing weight, and you don't want to. I get so many people who start the program who say, I don't want to tell anybody that I'm doing this because I'm afraid I'm going to fail again.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to admit that to anyone.
Right. And it is hard. It is hard to do that because Joanna and I have talked about that. It's hard to be a prophet in your own land.
Yeah.
It is easy with this group in a way because there is some anonymity to it because we're all over the United States. I mean, here, look at you and I have never met in person, never met Joanne in person, but yet we have this connection and this closeness. But there is something to be said about being on the fringe with this. But there is some benefit to that. I'm not going to say that there's not. I kind of like the anonymity sometimes. I do like that. But I will say that within the group, I am being very honest and transparent. And that is helping me as I branch out into my real life with things. Because you're right, there's a lot of hurt in real life, and there's a lot of relationships that are just, right here. You got to work through that. But with this group, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you want to say about all that, Joanne?
Yeah, I think the big difference is that changed my whole perspective in my life is being honest with myself about what I was doing. And I feel like like LT said, in your own personal life, it's easy to hear criticism from the people around you, and it's easy to hear like, why can't you get control of this? Or it's easy to hear that because those people know you and they know your flaws and they know your mistakes. So even on our first conversation, you and I, when you said something about like food addiction, I immediately, because that's my MO, I'm a bratty 80s kid. Like you don't tell me what to do. I make all the rules. But when you said that to me, about being addicted to something, immediately my claws went in the ground, and I was like, no, I'm not addicted to anything. I'm not addicted to food. I don't have a problem. I just need to lose weight and get healthy. But I let that go, and letting that go and seeing the people in the group, and a lot of that's why I was so on Marissa about get back in the group, because when I started, she was already in the group, and I looked up to her like, she's being real here. Like, what is this? What is this place? People are admitting things. People are talking about things. And there are things that I do and things that I feel, but I've never even admitted it to myself. So I think just allowing yourself to finally feel like positive feedback, but in a tough love sort of way. And to hear truth coming from other people, especially you, because you've called me out 100 million times. And,
I think I also called
like
you
you've said,
yesterday.
like every day, I'm actually kind of look forward to it now, because every time anybody else has done that, I put my claws in and I say no. And I put up this big wall and say, no, you're not going to call me out. But in letting somebody call you out in a positive way, and who has your best intent, their intentions are for your betterment, I feel like allowing yourself to be open to that and to be open to growing and learning while you're doing all these crazy things, that's made the big difference for me, because I finally said, okay, unzip that a little bit and unpack it. Why are we doing this? And I've allowed information to come in that I wasn't allowing before. And just letting, like, a revolution is something I think builds momentum over time. And so for me, not giving up and trusting the process. I didn't see results overnight, but every single day since day one, I have felt better than the day before. And for 16 months now, I've not gained a pound back. I've either maintained or, fluctuated, but I keep a log on my phone And from 16 months ago to now, it's only ever gone down. And that speaks of how I've changed mentally.
Yes.
How much weight have you lost total?
48 now.
Yeah.
So, but I've never been able to have a process before. I've only ever had a goal, and I've only ever had a black and white, like you have to do this by this date. And now it's a process, and I've learned how to trust the process and unpack all of that garbage.
And it's
Yep.
a lifestyle. I think that's
Mhm.
the difference is, instead of looking at it like I need to lose X amount of pounds, look at it. I think for me, the difference for me when I finally did this was I didn't look at it that way anymore. I just was like, I'm done looking at it that way. That doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't work for me, obviously. So what I'm going to look at is, who do I want to be?
Mhm.
Because that's not who I am right now.
Right.
I'm not happy with who I am. It doesn't just the weight, it's the way that I cope with things.
Mhm.
It's the way I'm showing up in the world. It's the way I feel about myself. It's
All of
the lack of balance in my life. It's the relationships that suck. It's all of these things. And I was like, I am not happy with who I am. And that is showing up in my weight. It's showing up in all these different ways. But what I need to change is, I want to be a different person. And so instead of making it a goal to lose weight, I made it a goal to show up differently.
Right. Yeah. Every
Yes.
day.
Every day. And that required, it requires some work on your part. It requires you to really take a look at what you're doing, but you do it instead of in the smack yourself type of way, like what is wrong with you, and why can't you do this, and all of this beating up we do. It is I firmly believe that you can't do this until you decide you love yourself enough to do it.
Right.
When you're constantly in that cycle of hate, where I hate myself, I hate the way I look, I hate the way I act, I hate the way I'm showing up, I hate that I can't do this, then you've already decided you're not worth it.
Right.
Right. Defeated.
Right. And so first you have to decide you're worth it. First, you have to decide, I love myself enough to do this for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of women get tripped up right there, because
They do.
that's another one of my 6 truths, that it's ingrained in us that we put other people before ourselves. So to really say, I'm worth it, and I love myself enough to invest in myself, the time and the resources in myself, that alone is huge for a lot of women.
Yes. Yes.
So what do you, coming up on the new year, what do you feel like you want to say to women who are feeling, because this is what happens. The straight up truth is, we just feel like crap about ourselves by the, and this year is different. This year is worse for most of us. Most women are feeling even worse, because they haven't just had, the last few months of the year being a shit show. It's been all year, because
Yes.
of so many things. And it is cliche to say new year, new you, like, I don't want to use that terminology because it's tired. So what would you guys say to someone who has come to this end of the year, and they're at the end of their rope, and they are being inundated by all of the crap out there, all of the different programs and quick fixes? What would you guys say to them?
Yep. I'm going to say that I've done it. I've even had surgery. I've paid the money like you've paid the money. I thought that was going to be the thing that happened, but I had one foot in another world, and I had one foot in not wanting it. And with the addiction world, and one foot of thinking I was doing the healthy thing with the programs. So what I would say is to just step fully with both feet into the healthy world. And you're going to lose this addiction and this hold that these foods have on you quicker than you think you're going to do that. And if you go through the process and don't go around it, but go through it, be open to the support, have the belief, have a glimmer of hope, know that somebody has done everything that you have already tried. Somebody has done every program that you've already tried.
Yeah.
And when you have the freedom of it not being on front and center of your mind every day and being drawn to food and thinking they're over here getting to eat all of this and I don't get to have anything and I just get to have my little plate. Listen, my family's over here eating stuff. They still have what they want to eat. I'm choosing not to partake. I'm happy with what I have prepared. And I have prepared things for them too, but they're not 100% like me because they're not at the commitment level that I am. And you know what? That's okay. They're not derailing me and they're not going to get preached to me every day. They're 18, 21, and 55 years old. They're going to make their own decisions and they're going to have their own results. But I will say that I set myself up for success and I made sure that I have what I need. And I don't lament a plate of cinnamon rolls and a plate of fudge and cookies, because when I truly look at that as a plate of cholesterol. And when I see dairy, I view it as a plate of pus and mucus, because I have watched all of these films and these stories, and I am looking at things that can happen with your health. So I don't lament things, and I'm still eating things I enjoy. I still have things I like. I still eat sweet things. I still eat salty things. I still eat savory things. I do a normal amount of exercise. I'm not killing myself. I have not been sore since I have stopped working with that personal trainer. I'm doing regular walking, regular elliptical.
Right.
My nutrition has lost the weight for me. The lightness I feel up here has been worth any amount that has been on the scale. And I will be the first to tell you, I love that the scale number has gone down. I love that my clothes have changed. I love that I had a new shopping experience and a dressing room experience. And when I wore a medium across the board, it makes me want to buy one of everything in that store and go, guess what? I'm a medium. I mean, I wanted to do that. That's what I wanted to do. And I'm not saying it's not great, because it's wonderful. But when I had my husband's sister here this past weekend, and her family, they had not seen me since I had been on this journey, just, through not seeing me in person. When I say they had a fit over me, that was an understatement. I enjoyed every minute of that. They gushed over me like nobody's business. And it was fun for me. I'm going to tell you, it was fun and I enjoyed it. But what got me at the end was when she told me, when we left, she said, "You're better in every way." She said, "The way you carry yourself's different. The way you walk in a room is different. The way you interact with us is different. My brother is so proud of you. He doesn't even know what to do." It was everything. It was everything. I get emotional talking about it because I wanted it so long. I've wanted it so long. And I finally got it. And it's better than I thought. And
I agree.
Lord knows if I can do this. I did everything. Y'all can do it. You just have to believe that you can. You just have to reach out. You have to be honest. You have to own what you did. Mm-hmm. You did it. You did it. You did it. And it wasn't right. And it's embarrassing. And let's just move on. Let's move on. Because the freedom I feel of walking through life and not being beholden to this addiction is better than I ever dreamed. And I have journals of dreams that I wish that would happen. And it's finally happened.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I just want to see a lot of hearts going up. I just want to, I want to thank you for being open. Yeah. People are saying they're crying with us.
It's been a long road, y'all.
But I think here's the thing I want people to know about this too, is that you don't have to we talked about this before. You don't have to have your mind right. You don't have to believe in yourself, be like, oh, I know I can do this. You just have to believe that if it's possible for someone else, it's possible for you.
Mhm.
Right.
And that there is a process in place to make that happen, because if it happens for other people, it can happen for you. That's all you really
Right.
have to, because I know, you can be in such a low place that you don't believe in yourself at all.
Mhm.
And that's,
That's right.
we work on that, in the program, because it is about loving yourself and learning to trust yourself, being empowered in all areas of your life, setting boundaries. Those are the things that help you believe in yourself. And getting your nutrition right at the beginning is helping to get your mind right. But you don't have to start by
No. And I didn't.
right.
It was a radical 180-degree change for me. I had never even heard of some of this stuff. I mean, when I say going plant-based was radical, I can't even emphasize enough how radical it was for me. And I don't even know that I knew what I was doing. And but I believed that I could, and I trusted, and I did your plan exactly what you said. And I allowed the honesty, and I said, I'm just going to make this look a little different because I'm getting a different vibe with this. And so I was authentic, and I have had authentic results, and it's made all the difference in the world. And it's not even, and if you had told me about, but the weight you're going to lose, that's all I was concentrating on. Lori, I can't even tell you that weight is great, but it's one of the benefits. It's
Right.
one. And I put it in a collage of many, because there's so many that outweigh even that I didn't even know about. I didn't even know. I couldn't even dream it for myself until I felt it. And so that's the biggest thing that I would have to tell you, is that it can change your whole outlook, your demeanor, your attitude. I had more a negative bent towards things. I am naturally bending towards the positive, and I'm not forcing myself to bend towards the positive. I'm not making myself. I'm not saying, oh, but you need to look at it this way. I am a natural bent. I shared with my group this week, and I thought it just resonated so true to me. Sometimes when you're in the darkest of places, you feel like you've been buried.
Yeah.
Maybe you've been planted.
Yeah.
Okay. Me having that mindset has made every difference in the book for me, top to bottom.
Well, and now you're, I can't help but remember the first time we talked and you were crying tears of sadness.
Sad. Oh, just defeated.
Yeah.
Just
and
kind of scared. Just like,
Yeah.
I got to do something, and I'm thinking it's you, but I don't know. I hope.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that is the cool thing, for me, which you guys know now as coaches, is that when you get to see that kind of transformation, it isn't just about the scale. So what about you, Joanne? What would you say? Top what Lori just said.
Well,
I know it. Lori's a crier. I'm a little emotional this week.
That's okay. That's okay. I would agree with everything she says, because I've experienced 100% of what she has experienced as well, with 180-degree change. And I think the difference is, and what I would say to everybody, who is in the place that Lori and I have, or LT and I have been in, is you can't approach this process by looking at how broken you are and by looking at all of your bad habits, because I think that's what every single time I've always done is I've just been like, oh, you do this wrong or you do that wrong, you have to fix that. And this time I think, and it's a hard thing to do, it is a very hard thing to be real with yourself and say, I'm going to do this because I care about myself, and because I've not ever had that kind of care given to me before, and stop being in that victim mode and go, okay, I'm not going to fix all the broken pieces. I'm going to focus on what I want to be. And I'm going to just, one foot in front of the other, go to that vision of myself that I've always wanted and always just been too broken or, beat down to do, to accomplish that, and stop focusing on that negative stuff and just put one foot in front of the other and go towards my goal of who I want to be. And that has made a difference, because that's coming out of a place of caring about yourself and loving yourself, instead of looking at everything. I hear every day from people like, I just can't get it together. if I could just stop my habit of doing this. Well, don't stop your habit of doing that, but start your new habit of doing this other thing. Start your new habit of taking a walk every day. Start your new habit of setting a boundary. Once you start those new habits that are going towards who you want to be, instead of trying to fix all your bad habits, those things will go away on their own. Once
Right.
you start living in here and now and forward, you're going to stop living back there. And that's, I think, been the biggest difference is I opened myself up to what the future actually looked like. Because, you know, once, like you said, you have to start with feeling better physically.
Right.
And once you start feeling better physically, you can actually have that hope for how your future is going to look. And when you focus on the future and how you want yourself to be rather than all the bad ways you've been in the past, it's a game changer.
I think
It's a
for
game
me,
changer. Yep.
I think for me with you, Joanne, is it has been so fun and affirming for me just to see how much your confidence has changed.
Mm-hmm.
That alone in the past year and a half has just, every time that you put yourself out there, I can't help but remember how you were when you first came in.
I
So,
fought you on that when you said, why don't you come to the Zoom meetings? I'm like, I don't do cameras. I don't be talking to people. I don't do that.
now you're
And you
running
were
meetings.
with me.
I know
Now
it.
you're running meetings and you're here in front of 5,500 people.
That's right. We are two different animals, aren't we?
Yes.
We really are. And both of us have overwhelming gratitude. And that's what propels me to. To the overwhelming gratitude.
Yeah, every day I wake up and I think I'm so grateful. And of course to you, Lori, but to the other ladies in the group that, I think that's the magic of this, is in unexpected ways. And before I was so not open to hearing anything from even compliments. It's hard to take a compliment when you don't have any self-confidence. It feels it's annoying to get a compliment when you don't feel good about yourself, because you're like, why are you lying to me? Why are you saying these things? But now I get so much positive reinforcement from ladies that I'm helping, and it just really fills me up so much that it pushes me to just keep going forward in a way that I've not felt before, because I was so resistant to even hearing that anything I did was helpful, or because I didn't feel that about myself.
That's exactly right. And that's why when I got those compliments and when I got that gushing over this past weekend, I almost didn't know how to take it. Mm-hmm. It just floored me.
Mm-hmm.
It's an unusual feeling. I embraced it. I loved it. I've had time to process it, but it's obviously still raw to me right now. That's why, because it was so long and me wanting to hear that. And when you finally hear things like that, you're like, oh my gosh.
It's surreal.
It's happening.
You have arrived, lady. You have arrived.
Well, and the cool thing is it only gets better. That's the great thing about this. It's a journey. It's a journey that doesn't stop with that moment.
Yes.
It's and it's also, when the studies that they have done about people and work, is that the thing that makes them stay at a job is not money. It is meaning. If they feel meaning and connection with their work, then that is what makes them stay someplace. And so I think when we can take things that have happened to us and make meaning out of those by helping other people. And that's what even the women who aren't coaches in the group are doing, that because they're being honest. They're being honest about what's going on with them. And that is healing. It's a balm to everybody who's in there. Like, yes, thank you for coming out and saying that. That's exactly how I feel.
Yes. Let's
acknowledge that. Let's love ourselves and forgive ourselves and move forward. I think that's the thing, is it's the meaning that we can put behind our experiences to really help other people, and then it wasn't all for nothing. It was not just to make us better, but to help other women lift themselves up as well.
I feel this so much that way about these 30 years. It wasn't for nothing. It's an experience. I'm able to relate things, share things. That's why you can't surprise me, because somehow I probably did it. And it feels like I have a true purpose in helping that. And it's so clear. And that's why I have overwhelming gratitude sometimes, because I feel like it is so crystal clear when I used to live in just a fuzzy state.
Right. And even with I just want to say too, because we're over time, but even you've been able to help your mom become so much more healthy with a plant-based diet. And y'all, her mom thinks I'm famous. She wants to know if I get recognized on the street, which is absolutely hilarious, or if I've been on Dr. Oz.
And why isn't she
I
on
think
Dr.
that's so
Oz?
cute. Yeah.
Why isn't she on Dr. Oz? Yeah, let's call him. Let's call him and get her on there.
It's so funny. But your mom, her health has been transformed by you just helping her with a plant-based diet. Because I know when that was something else, was when you and I first talked, how worried you were about her health. Where she was eating nursing home food and
right.
That's
right. Yes.
Yeah. So
They put a lot of fat, sugars, butters, because they want it to taste rich and good. And so we've got her on a healthier path. And I can tell you that if you ever have a down day, Lori, you just know that Jane Stevens is your number one fan. She thinks you put the moon up there with your own two hands, is all I'm going to say.
That's hilarious. Well, I appreciate her from afar, because just hearing how famous she thinks I am is fun.
She thinks you are something else.
Well, I just appreciate you ladies so much for coming on here and being honest. And it isn't easy, but it does get easier the more you do it. And as we are honest with other women, and that enables them to be more honest also in return, then we can create a society of women that, instead of all the competitiveness and pettiness and things that some of us have experienced in the past, we can create really unity and a way for all of us to heal and move forward that has a side effect of weight loss and health, but isn't just the goal of I'm going to get skinny. And so I invite anyone who is interested in that path to contact one of us. We would love to talk to you. And as we go into the holiday, take a deep breath and let it go. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's out of our control this holiday, and that is okay. It doesn't have to be a perfect holiday to be perfectly wonderful. And I appreciate everyone tuning in today. If you are live, or if you are watching the replay, then feel free to continue to comment. We always go back and look at the comments and respond. So thank you for joining us for episode 11. We will not be here next week because of Christmas. I cannot believe how fast that's coming up. I mean, I'm
at 1 week
in shock. And I may do a live stream on the 1st, but we will not be doing our InnerStrength Empowerment Hour on the 1st, but we will be back on the 8th. So look for your next topic then. The last thing that I want to say is that one thing that we're doing to kind of really encapsulate what we've talked about is a vision boarding group. It's just going to be a 3-day event. It's going to be a private, just Facebook group that you can join. It's free. And we're going to be making vision boards and talking about what that looks like, different ways that you can do it, and ways to approach it. So if you are a creative person, or even if you're not, because I've had people do this with spreadsheets before, then join the group, and I'll be putting more information about that out probably either Sunday or Monday. And the group will be held on the 28th, 29th, and 30th. And all of the content in there will be recorded. So if we do a live stream or something in there, you can always come back and watch it after the fact. But if you're interested in that, then just know that all of the information is coming up, and that's going to be really fun and a great way to really think about who you want to show up as going forward and what your goals are. So we will be running that, and we're excited about that. So thank you again so much, and we will see you next time.
Okay. See ya. Merry Christmas.
Yep. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Happy. There's so many holidays this month. So have an amazing new year, obviously.
Yes.
Cheers to 2021.
That's right.